Hi, I'm a little bit early because I can't see both cameras unless I'm live. And I needed to check and see if you can see my new grids, the ones that I've just finished. And we'll talk about them a little bit. We'll talk about questions that have come in through the. Since I have 0 viewers, is there anybody out there? Anybody going to show up today? I can practice what I'm going to say. Ah, hello. I've got a couple of viewers. Woo woo. I can practice what I'm going to talk about. Um, for those of you who are new here, oh, good, Gina. Yippee. Yeah, I remember somebody commented they thought they'd need to sleep. Don't watch my reading instead of sleeping. Sleeping's very important. One thing I learned in weight loss is if you don't sleep, you don't lose weight. It's just amazing. If you don't get at least 7 hours of sleep, you can get in that scale. It's going to sit there and be the same or go up. And the other thing that makes scales go up is I have not had a terrible headache probably 5 or 6 years, and the last time I had them was when I was coming off the painkillers from having my knees replaced, so it's longer than that. Anyway, I woke up Friday with kind of a stiff Thursday with kind of a stiff neck. By Friday, I had full blown stiff neck, and by Saturday, I seriously was thinking I was going to have to go to the emergency room. And I've been doing a lot of healing meditations, and I'm going, what the hell? I'm healing, right? That's not healing. Anyway, it went away, and talked to my doctor, and none of my blood pressure, nothing went wrong during that time. So she just figures I maybe just hit a spot in my meditations that really needed to work its way out. Which reminds me, I have a very odd little book that I found. It's actually found it from Cash Peters, and it's by a guy named Michael J. Lincoln. And this is the cover, and it's the top 50 messages from your body that have to do with medical messages, how you feel. And I looked up headaches, and it had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It had about 10 different reasons your body embodies a headache. But what I kind of came up with was I was sort of in joy avoidance. We're systematically somber and serious to the point of not allowing themselves to experience and express just joy and happiness, and going out and laughing and things, and expressing gratitude and praise, sing and dance, and just have a good time. That someone who's had their nose to the grindstone. Well, I had kind of had my nose to the grindstone, so I think that might have been it. But he had a lot of other things. There's a couple of other things that could have been. Could have been that I was meditating on doing some system healing, and while I was going through that, I ran into a thing on we're hard on ourselves. We send our body messages that we're not good enough. One of the key components to human consciousness that most of us need to address is change that tendency to be too hard on themselves. And I've talked about that I had a lot of negative speak I've had to work on. And I was thinking about that, and I've been writing about that, and I think some of the negative speak just decided to all go into one muscle and then work its way out the top of my head. Anyway, what cured me was coming on Saturday and doing the live I did with y'all, because I could feel it start to relax. And then I finally finished the last 5 grids I had outstanding that needed to be finished. So for those of you who don't know, each one of these grids is based on an image in sacred geometry. And in particular, this particular image is going into a health center where people go after they've had surgery to get some assistance while they're healing. And this one's called Healing, and that's where that one's going. And this one is going to the other building that's in this facility, and it's for memory care for people who are fading from us in their own bodies. And this particular grid is called Tenderness, and I think it's really pretty. It's got some wonderful healing. The stones that are in it are at the centers of chrysocolla, which is empowerment, awareness, and communication. Then that's at the very middle. It's got a snow quartz sitting on top of it, which helps overcome obstacles. And then the citrines are to help with mental clarity and to fight negativity. And then the ice calcites amplifies our energies to help us clear out old energy patterns. The chrysoprase, which is this pretty little light blue stones, it embodies the energy of, brings thoughts through divine truth. The amazonite, the big blue chunks here, that brings healing and helps people rest and be freed from anxiety. The ruby fusite, which are these wonderful, they're gorgeous stones when you really see them. They got blue and green and everything else in them. And that's for peace, for inspiration, strengthen love and friendship, and to try and connect the head and the hearts. And then the blue kyanite is a ring of stones that amplify all this energy. And they try to help people learn how to express what they can express. So there's a lot of mercy stones in that grid. This grid is called Miracle, and it's for a woman who's going through a whole lot of changes in her life, and she's looking for some miracles. So this has got some yellow adventurine, some citrine, it's got rhyolite. This is tumbled, but it's been left rough, and I kind of like that look. And it's got little dashes of inspiration spreading out all over the place. So that's the Miracle. And then this one is Fertility. And actually, because the woman who ordered this lives where I live, I'm actually going to be able to physically give someone a grid, which I haven't been able to do for a long, long time. And she's looking to change her complete life. She's going to be retiring soon. She's my age, so she's worked until she's in her 70s, but she wants to retire. She wants to move on. And all these stones are about releasing, meeting new people, love and acceptance, and to understand loss. Because when you leave a job you've been at as long as she's been at this one, you feel a definite loss. And then this is a grid that's a grid for a friend of mine. And it's actually for a whole bunch of friends of mine. This is going to be in times 10 sellers. And the theme of this grid is emergence. And in the very middle, I don't know if you can tell it, but it's a pyramid. It's not it's a carved stone, and it's sodalite, and that's ends of confusion and difficult times to understand the new patterns. This is a wine cellar that has survived COVID. I mean, they kept their business going one way or another, shipping the wine out, doing all kinds of things. I found all these lovely winey colored stones, and I put it in this for them for emergence. And their last ring is the jasper. And these impression jaspers are to align body, mind, and spirit, because there's such a great spirit in that place. It's just wonderful. And last time I saw Rob, I said, I'm going to make you a grid, because he wants me to come back and read there. I'm not sure I really can or want to. And I told him I wouldn't make my mind up until August, until after we see how the variants go. But that's a crystal grid. So when you hear me talking about grids, that's what I'm talking about. And I've got to move them back here, and I do not want them to drop. Anyway, I teach you how to fire those up. I teach you how to make those real. And it's from working with grids and starting with grids that I came up with the garden. So garden's kind of a little grid you can cast for yourself all the time. And, okay, Angelita, I'm glad you're listening. A couple things I want to tell you is cleaning up for me. Okay, who won? Who won in my 4-person drawing? Remember, I drew for 2 grids, for a reading, and for Radley Valentine's book, Being Your Own Genie, which I consider a great text for anybody who wants to understand transmuting their life, making their life what it can be, and understanding the psychic side of your life. And I think that so fits with all of the 3, 4, and 5D readings I've been doing. Anne in California won a grid. Cheryl won a grid. Michelle won a reading. And Yari won a book. And they've all been contacted, but that's who won. And it was really interesting because 2 of them are outside the U.S. And so we're having to make some accommodations for that. One of them lives in Ecuador, but doesn't have a real mailing address. I mean, it takes all kinds. So I'm mailing that to someone in Kansas City, and I hope they know they're going to get it. And it's they sent me back their emails just immediately. I let them know yesterday. I ran the contest till last Sunday night, and then I just had to cut it off. And I've only had 2 come in since then. But the other thing I said I was going to be doing is talk about a little bit about change. And I had some notes on change, and then I got a talk to someone who'd gotten a grid for me, and they're going through a real change. They've ended up acquiring a new business and having to go through a whole lot of changes to deal with that. And I think it's in the tarot, it's in the moon card. If in the traditional deck you see that there's usually a lobster crawling out behind the people that are looking at the moon. And I don't know if you know much about lobsters. I know a lot about eating them. I don't know much about being one, but lobsters have an exoskeleton. So when they grow, their little skeleton grows and they bust out of it and they have a new skeleton. But it's not immediately hard. And what happens with lobsters when they go through change? You talk about high risk. They have to shed the old skeleton, and then for 2 days they're very vulnerable. And if they didn't have a place to hide and other lobsters to kind of protect them, they'd be vulnerable to anything that want to eat them because they don't have their exoskeleton anymore. So they actually go and find a cave, and they go and hide in this cave for a couple days, and then they come out. And what I said to my friend when I was talking to her about some of the changes that are happening around her, to remember sometimes we need to ask other people to watch our cave and let us have a chance to adjust to the changes we're going through. And I think that may have been a lesson to myself. That may have been in part what my headache was about. I just needed to let it go and let other people kind of handle some things for a couple days so that I could relax and get more in the mood. I have a question that came from the communities page, and it was, the person uses travels as their handle. And are my parents upset with my brother and a family because of their actions? I don't know what the actions are. You now know as much as I do. So what we're going to do is we're going to cast into the garden the situation between Travel's parents and Travel's brother family. Okay. Yeah, brother's breaking away from some old family values. He's got the pyrite in the south in the fire, and pyrite, when it shows up in fire, is, I wrote these and you'd think I'd know them better. He's got to deal with things from his past and his mind or his parents' mind, and I'm going to roll this again to see who it is. But one of them really has their mind tied to the false energies of the past and don't want to give them the grace to move forward. I see they're physically moving forward. They're in the position of water is moving away from you. Their spirit is in the water, and who's ever made this decision to split in this family, they're done. If the parents are waiting for the brother to come back and waiting for that, it's not going to happen. And they're physically moving away. I mean, it's not just a mental move away. It's not just a mental disconnect. They're physically moving away. Now, what's trailing behind all this is what's clarifying it. And I saw that was in false and earth is actually where it was. And when it's in earth, they have many paths still ahead of them. So this could correct itself. The parents could change. The parents could begin to see the light. But with the clarification being in false, it goes, but their visions are very, very, very clouded at this time. This is not a fight that's going to go away anytime soon. Matter of fact, I think the moves are happening. It's changing right now in the summer. Let's see if there's a reconciliation. When could it be? Okay, it's not going to be till winter, and the problem is, I don't know if one side's in one political camp, one's in the other. One has left the church and the family doesn't understand. I don't know what their separation is, but their separations are very, very real. And one of them has very, very false ideas. You either have to be in my tent or you're out of the tent. So I don't know if that helps you, Travel. Travel said she'd been using a pendulum. I don't know if many of you know anything about pendulums. I'll do a thing on them one day. But let's see. Laura, all of the gardens that were ordered are in the mail. And I am telling you, I checked this morning, and yours is one that shows it's still in transit, and I really don't understand why it's taken so long. They went out on July 6th. I can tell you, I got mailed something from the same place that day, and I was supposed to be here yesterday, and I didn't get it. And then I found out when we went to the post office to try and find out what's going on. They loaded up all the mail trucks, and apparently some crud hit their whole postal service. No one got mail in my part of the city. Because all the postmen were sick. I don't know what they've got. I don't know what they think they've got. They didn't tell me. When they said people in there were sick, I tightened my little mask around my face and ran. Does anybody else have a question? Because I have a couple of other things I've come across. Does everybody else know much about pendulums? Do you know how they work or anything at all? When I do past life readings, I use pendulums. I have one here. Ooh. Ah, Karen, yes. Do you like your pendulum? Karen, who just wrote about a pendulum? I have two if they're untwined from each other. Okay. I have this one, which is, I'm going to put it against this. You can see it probably better. It's a Merkaba. It's that symbol. That's the two pyramids pushed together. I like to use that one. But this is my oldest pendulum, and I've had this pendulum since the 1980s. And it was actually built for me by a crystal fabricator, and she glued them all together, and she picked them because they've got every chakra color in it. Yes, you can do yes, no's. You can do, when I do my life reading, when I do my past life readings, and we see the past life we're going to look at, I'll ask if it's a male or a female. I don't just let my instincts tell me. And for me, it'll swing this way if it's male, and if it's a female, it'll swing this way. And that goes all the way back to the 1960s in my dorm room when we used to see how many kids we were going to have and whether they'd be boys or girls. Which is another thing you can use. That's the first thing I ever saw anyone use a pendulum for. And the one thing I will warn you about pendulums, I kind of know how they show up for past lives, but I still check them every single time I start to use a pendulum. I make sure that I check the energy that's in it right. And I'm doing some reading on pendulums because, hi, Dorothy Morgan. If y'all ever want to go get a good chart done and get your astrology done, Dorothy does a wonderful job. She stays out of the politics and stuff and just talks about what's up with you, which I find very refreshing. Let's see, I've got some other notes over here. Okay. One thing I want to talk about is I'm going to do a show, I think the end of this week, and I'm going to break my rules. It's going to be about politics in a way, but it's going to be about the principles of politics, not the personalities within politics. And I think Sheila and I are going to do it on her channel, Celtic Tarot, on Friday. This is not the first time that the Texas legislature, the Democrats have had to flee because of something that was going on behind the scenes and negatively to us. In the early 2000s, when we got the new census numbers, the legislature was, in the year that we drew them, which would have been off the year 2000, they were primarily Democrats, and it was almost pretty even. But anyway, the Karl Rove came in, and George W. was our beloved governor, and they decided that they didn't like that the numbers seemed to be swinging to them more towards Republicans, and that they felt they'd been gerrymandered. So they called a special session. They pulled the legislature back in, and they went in to gerrymander the state. And that was really the beginning. I mean, under both sides do it. Both sides, who's ever in charge, kind of pulls what they can. But the bottom line was, in 2003, legislators I knew fled the state. The House went to Oklahoma. They went to Ardmore. No offense to anyone who lives in Ardmore, but it's not a place I want to go. You have to really not want to be where you were. And the other ones went to New Mexico. And they hit out there and they hit out there and they hit out there. And finally, they thought they'd struck an agreement. They got back in the state. They rounded them up in the House. And it was a trap. And we ended up with a bunch of districts becoming snakes instead of contiguous districts. It was really a mess. We lost a really good legislator in Washington named Martin Frost, and in his place we got Pete Sessions. And if you know anything about Pete Sessions, that was not a fair trade. Anyway, she and I are going to talk about how this works in Texas, that people can take off and stop the legislature, sort of the history of this, but mostly we're going to talk about is what we as individuals can do, what we need to know in order to be able to exercise our right to vote, and what pressure we can put on people, because they may have millionaires, but there's only so many of them. There's a lot more people who really vote, and Texas has been a low voting state, and it's really the tale of two states, because while Texas was saying, oh poor me, we can't do anything about this, liberals in Colorado got together and said, let's turn Colorado blue, and they did it. And she and I are going to discuss, I know some people who are part of that, we're going to discuss how that happened. Anyway, does anybody else have any question? Oh, Karen Johnson, there's a reader called Trudy Lee. She's on YouTube. She runs an Etsy shop, and she has some really good crystal pendulums. She has some really nice ones. If you want to, and I've talked to Trudy, but I looked at her stock, and I know she's a lady who knows it. She's not just going to throw something on the end of a string, right? She's going to get stuff from where it's good. Okay, who wants to know some more? Because the other thing I'm going to bring up is in the last week, I've read several people who I think are really moving in the right direction. But it's because they finally came to understand that if they were met with the same problem and they made the same choices again, guess what? They got the same answer back. And stagnation sometimes will just finally push you over the edge, and you'll just make the changes just because you can't stand to sit there and be in those changes anymore. So we're going to look at let's see. I'm trying to think of a situation that I can put this in. Okay. What mind frames? What's the situation of our mind frame when we want to break away from the same old mind patterns? I've never read something like this on the garden. We're all plowing new ground here, kids. So, okay, yeah, we need to put it. We need to get it planted firmly in our mind. And as your mind goes, your body will follow. Then the spirit will easily flow forward, and there'll be clarity. But some of the values, sometimes the way it gets expressed as in values will stay behind. So what it's saying to me is kind of what I was saying to you, same choices, same results. But the first place you need to work with is your mind. You need to open your mind up, get your mind ready for new things, get your mind moving in that direction. Your body will follow. Yes, Jen, I got my book. Yes, I did. Thank you. It's about Atlantis. And these two being so close together in water, it tells me that that transmutation is almost complete when you get to the point where your body and your head are both moving in a positive direction, and you have all the clarity you need. You just need to pick a new path, and follow it. And I have a client, and he and I talked about 6 months ago, and he was telling me he's a skinny little guy, but he wanted to, and he finally got his allergies arranged so that he's not dying every time he goes outside. So he got himself a bicycle, and he said, I got a bike. And I said, good. When are you riding it? He said, well, I can't ride it right now. And he said, because I can't attach it to my car. And I said, but they have those things to put bikes on your car. And he said, yeah, but I have a Maserati. I mean, he's a sweet guy, and I knew a lot about him, but I didn't know he had a Maserati. Such a problem for someone to have to block them from making the change. Anyway, he wrote me and said he found a way to put his Maserati on the back of his car. So now I can go to White Rock Lake and pedal around, which is it's a very lovely outdoor space here to ride your bikes. Okay, Laura, let's see. See what energy is prominently floating around Laura right now. I'm going to start with her mind, and then I'm going to throw the other 4 to clarify. Oh, you're locked between the future and the present, and your mind is like, it's more in the future, but you're still tied to something in the present. So see what the situation is around this that's got you feeling kind of like you're straddling 2 realities. Oh, cool. Okay. It's partly because of some of the values you learned in the past. You're having a hard time letting those go. But, man, your solar plexus is wired up with your spirit, and your body and your heart, I think your mind and your heart are finally getting unified. Does that sound right, Laura? And what it's asking you to do is to seek... Okay. You've got a lot. The problem is you're between the future and the present. You've got a lot of options ahead of you. You're trying to deal with your values from the past, and okay, this is actually a great placement for this because it says you're weaving the values you need to move towards. But you've got great energy between your heart and your solar plexus. This is where a lot of stuff gets stopped in our body. We get the energy from our root chakra. It gets through the sacral chakra. We get that great idea. Then we get to the solar plexus and we try to make it work. But this shows that your solar plexus and your heart are working together. And that's extremely powerful. So the energy that's surrounding you is to tell you to go make that change. That's how I'd read it. I hope that helps. Anybody else have a question? Yeah, you're in the middle of a lot of changes, but your mind is way, your mind's ahead in the future. You're keeping yourself grounded into the present. I think that's just a great thing for someone moving forward. None of that's blockages. That's all your energy's moving. Yeah, Barbara, you're right. We live by baby steps. We can't run by leaps and bounds. Anybody else have a question? I work better with questions. Okay. Oh, yeah, that would be, and that also, if it's your mom moving in your face and looking at a lot of stuff you used to have. Yeah, moms moving in are always a great chance to look. Oh, Dorothy. Okay, what's going on around Dorothy? Do you want a one and done? We'll start with values and then we'll spin the rest out after we do values. Okay. Okay, Dorothy, you got a really interesting spread. Between spring and summer, you had some things happen, and I know one of them was you moved. But your values you're reconsidering your values, and your fall's going to be incredible. You've got great cards in the fall. You've got your mind in thought. You've got your body following in thought. Your thoughts are all important. Your body's getting really grounded. I think you're really feeling dug into your new digs and really getting to try some new stuff. Your spirit is clearly in the future, and when amethyst falls in there, it says Be patient. The transmutation's taking time. I guess you're in that lobster thing. You're in the cave growing at second, getting hardened up there. But your clarity, your clarification's in the present, and your clarity's coming at you. You must be getting, I think one of the things may even confuse you. This confuses me sometimes when I get so many positive messages and so many affirmations all at once. I kind of go, now wait. Is that going to work? But Dorothy, your fall is going to be absolutely incredible, and I'm glad to see you're getting settled in. Let's see, who wants to go? Oh, somebody's going to Chicago. Oh, I wish I could go. That's where I grew up, but maybe not, because it might mean getting on an airplane. And a friend of mine today said, I'll get you a ticket to California, and I said, I'm not getting on an airplane. I just don't like them. Okay, yeah. You've got so many ideas about what's going on in this trip in Chicago. I think it's going to go well. I think you're going to get the values you want out of it. But your thoughts, you're still forming this trip, and even if it's a quick trip to Chicago, I think it's going to go well, but you're going to come back with a whole lot of ideas of what you have to do. It's going to shift everything into the fall. The most interesting one for you was to get your brain in the sacral chakra. And it says, this is going to open it up. I think there's some creative things you want to do through your job. And I think what you say is going to be valued. That's what I'm getting from this. What you say is going to be valued. It's really you didn't have a bad stone in a bad place. So, okay. And next step okay. Okay, I'm going to do Luanne's because there's a question here and I'm not sure that the words are right, so I'm not sure how to answer it. Can you throw on my next step in connecting with an estranged friend? So I'm going to do the situation around your friend, and it may or may not say you should connect with them, okay? Do you understand? To say connect to a friend would imply a kind of a black-white yes-no, and we try to do 4 and 5D questions on the board, so... Oh, you two had a past life connection. I think you're going to connect with this person because there are parts of them that are very valuable to you, and they're in the tree of life. And the tree of life is kind of where all of the... you just have to learn to try and harmonize with her more than she wants to harmonize with you. You've got your clarity. It's kind of interesting. It's in the third eye in the present. And third eye, I don't know. Yeah, you've spent a lot of time deciding whether to go forward with this, and you feel like right now is a good time to do it. Your body, you're ready physically, you're ready to face what this will go, and you need when you talk to this person, you need to be very, very, very grounded. Because spiritually, how you feel about this person's changed. I mean, you understand it. You may need someone there with you to make sure that what's said is said. But there's some opportunities here to show growth. But you too, I want you to think about it before you go meet her. Even if it's go find a meditation about a past life connections. Maybe if you could figure out what that past life was, I think that's caused you more problems than how you treated each other in this life. Some old energy wandered in here. Oh, Karen, yeah, get somebody to go with me. Go with you. I'm not going with you, but go up there to have a good time. I think it's going to be wonderful for you. And there was someone who had a question I didn't really understand. What could I lend into on my path? I think you're saying, what can you lead into your life path? And let's see if we'll put it out here. This, I can tell time on this. This is winter, spring, summer, and fall. And let's see. We're going to start with where can you see clarity? Oh, it says go for it. and to work with your root chakra. So you need to work on whatever that thing is you feel sort of blocking your sense of security. Go for that. And then how are we going to do that with the other stones? Oh, cool. You got clarity and your values are your way forward. Your brain's in the right space. Girl, you need to, the thing you can do right now is do some physical changes, because your body's kind of stuck in the past. But otherwise, your clarity, your mind's in a go for it mode. The path forward is great values, and your third eye is opened up. You can't get a better place for that stone to show up. Spirit shines through self-expression. So if it's the difference between say what you think. This is a time for you to say what you think and get what you want, because you can. And don't be hesitant about it. Be bold, because you got clarification, and go for it. And anybody else have a question? Okay, then I'm going to fall back on my own resources, which may not be what everyone wants, but works for me. I'm going to pull a card for the group, and I'm going to use this deck, the Surrender deck. You see that? I actually have this deck in my phone, and when I do phone readings, which I do readings, guys, I read cards, I read the garden, and I do pendulum readings, I do past life readings, I do 6-month readings. And when I finish with when I finish with Zoom clients, I open up that app in my phone, and I can shuffle the cards in my phone, and when they say stop. Yeah, the lady who's trying to reacquaint with your friend, it's old friend energy, and there's a lot of that going around right now because of the shifts of our energetic past. But to tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this card. Oh, cool. Well, it's this way. Okay. Surrender to the wisdom of your body. And this is real important for me right now, because I got down to 199.9, and then I kind of fell off the diet wagon, but I only gained 5 pounds back. But now I'm trying to get back into dieting, and my body is being a little bit stubborn. So listen to your body's messages about a person or situation. If you feel physically drained and uncomfortable, be cautious. If you are energized and happy, move forward. So that's the card that we all got today for all of us. And I'm really, I know that when I was in alignment and working it and doing stuff, that, like I said, this weird headache that of a kind I've not had in a bazillion years. Hi, I am in stage 4 cancer. I have an older brother who is verbally abusive to me and other family members. What should I do? Well, Rosemary, do you live near him? I mean, I'm gonna see what the situation, what can you do to move things in a positive way for you? What would make this a positive situation for Rosemary? Okay, speak from your heart. You got clarity in the heart. In your body, are you using some different therapy? I mean, I'm not saying use woo-woo therapies, but are you using different sort of cancer therapies, like little cells or something like that? Because I feel that might be a way. Your spirit and your values need to move forward. Your mind's in the right place. I have 3 brothers I haven't spoken to in 7 years because they did not want to know who I was. They wanted to reject it. They wanted to hide it. And they wanted to say it wasn't there. And you don't need that in your life. And you especially don't need it if you're going through cancer. You need all the most positive support you can. I don't know where you live, Rosemary, but I know there's lots of cancer survivor groups where people will come in and help you. Tell your older brother to F off. I mean, I'd use the other word, but YouTube does listen. Really, honestly, no one has a right to come in and abuse their family members verbally or any other way, especially not when you're already in a vulnerable state and having to use all your energy to get better. There's another lady stepping up saying, I'm using my voice. I think now is the time. The next 6 months are going to be really important for us to learn to stand up and speak for ourselves. You're on hospice care. Just tell hospice not to let them in. I know a bit about that because when my husband was in hospice care, I could decide who went in and out for him. I hope you have a good power of attorney person helping protect you. Danny Shea, Medium Kim, and I, and Chaplain did a whole show on making your plans to transition, and what a graceful gift. If you're in hospice and taking care of yourself that way, that's wonderful. I mean, it's not wonderful to be in hospice, but if I was in that situation, that's kind of where I think I'd be. And I will light a candle for you today, Rosemary. And I hope things, until I held my husband's hand when he died, I was terrified of death. I'm not terrified of death anymore. It's just you're like moving to another place. And you can come back and be around the people you want to be around, and you can make a real point of having your soul miss your brother, if that helps you at all. Anybody else have a question? If you're in hospice care, you can tell them to not let him in. And all of our love and prayers to you to try and help this. You're taking a trip, and we'll pray for you to make it as smoothly as possible. Okay. Sin McIn wants to know, thank you. You're welcome, Rosemary. Sin McIn wants to know how to focus changes in her life. Oh. Well, you're kind of right at the crux of a lot of it. I think you need to make some physical changes in your body because it hit in the big 4-part. It got earth, wind, air, and fire. Your body says, ground your thoughts, embody your past. Physical changes are coming and have faith in them and help with grounding. So this card tells me you need to ground. Your mind tends to get ahead of you. And you've got air. You've got your values in air. And that's not a bad place for them to be. But mental actions are what are going to help you the most. But you need to get your body. You need to get your head in your body to hold on to this. Your spirits, right now, your spirit's saying, if you follow what your spirit tells you to do, you can go forward with harmony. Your only problem is that your clarity tends to get caught up in the past. And you can use the lessons you've already learned and you'll do really well. And I hope that helps you. I think you know what to do. I think you keep asking other people because you're like, I can't have the right answer. But you do. You have the right answer in your own values and in your own mind. Anybody else have a question? Because I have to go. I just cut myself. I don't know how the hell I did that. I have a paper cut over here. I have to get ready to go and do a reading for a lady who won, one of the ladies who won my grid, Anne in California. And Anne's kind of doing a super spirit run and everything. She went and got her aura drawing done by Medium Kim. I think she said she spoke to Robert with the Akashic Records yesterday, and I know her through her sister, and it ends up... Okay. Martha wants a general throw on what to focus on. Okay. I'm going to do a general throw on what to focus on. Okay. You're blessed with clarity and wisdom. So if you follow your own spirit, your spirit's moving forward. Your mind's a little bit, your mental attitude's a little bit behind your mind, but not too bad. It's final thoughts on the situation are still coming. You don't have all the clarity yet. There's things coming out of the past that are going to make it clearer to you what you need to do next, your general path. Your body, you tend to embody your past more than your future. And And that also tells you, though, to look at the previous things that have worked for you. That will help. And your clarity is in fire. What it says is you know what to do because you know it's worked before. And I'm not saying, but you really have the values to bring your life forward. That's to Martha. Oh. That's a pendulum question. Or somebody wants to know if her neighbors across the street are dangerous. I'm checking which way is yes and which way is no. Okay. Are the neighbors across the street dangerous? No, they're not really. Just don't mess with them. They're just not on your wavelength, but I don't think that they're dangerous. I'm going to do one more reading for Carolyn. I'm going to be doing this again on Thursday, Alicia. Peace, empathy, love for all. At the same time, on Thursday at 1 o'clock, I'm going to be doing it. So if you can build up your questions and okay, I'm doing Carolyn Markleese. Oh, she wants to know about work. The other part of our lives. Yes? Okay. What's going on with Carolyn? The situation around Carolyn's work. Your body and your values, you know you're worth more than they're paying you and you want to get the hell out of there, but you're tied to it by some commitment you made in the past. Yeah, you've got some cloudy thoughts about how you ended up there. Your mind is ready to move. Your clarity says, I'm sort of stuck here. There's creative things I want to do and I'm not doing them here. Let me see if I roll this again, if I can get it. I got the situation. You're stuck. You feel stuck. You feel trapped. Let's see when will this situation change for you? It's changing right now. And by fall, you'll know exactly what you need to do. So watch for you got them all right now. Like everything's moving forward right now. Your body, your mind, your spirit are all telling you where to move. But you have a chance right now. Just be very, very careful because they may be unhinged, but there's a difference between being bizarre and being dangerous. I'll do one throw on their mental state, Janet, if it makes you feel better. I think they're not. I wouldn't make them bring them home and raise them, but I just kind of let it go. I think the more you obsess about them being there and worrying about them, the worse it's going to make it. Not because you're just going to bring that energy in. Just let them go. Every time you think about them, saying thank you for sharing and let them go. Get them out of your head. Okay, that's my one tip of the day, and then I'm going to go. I have little Post-it notes around my house, and this is what they say on them. It says, what D are you today? And it's to remind me, am I thinking in 3D? Am I thinking in dualistic terms? And I started doing this when I had my headaches. Am I in 4D? Am I ability to detach? I don't know about going to 5D. And you can do also, where are my thoughts today? What am I doing today? Where would I rather be? I mean, you can put these little notes around your house and just to remind yourself, because over 90% of what we do in any one day is an unconscious action. It's just a movement we do. When we start to think about why am I doing this way, then we can begin to see what moves us forward, what stops, what doesn't. And I really have to go, guys. Thank you all for being here. Remember, our soul card of this, the power of surrender was, your thought for the day is, surrender the wisdom of your body. Listen to your body, and if your body says go ahead, move ahead. If your body says stay away, stay away. And then just do it. Don't obsess, is this right, is this wrong? Just do it. And Y'all be fine. And thank you so much for coming. And I look forward to seeing you. I'm going to be doing this again on Thursday at 1 o'clock. I'll put a notice up on my